What's up, guys? Block FPL here. Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream. Today, it's all about Game Week 4, and I'm sure I will go ahead and get plenty of questions about Cristiano Ronaldo. It's going to be crazy. But with that said, I don't have Ronaldo in my team. I have Shaw, Sufal, Reguilon, Smith Rowe still in the team. The thing about Smith Rowe is I was always planning to play him against Norwich, and as long as he's healthy for this game, I don't think he's terrible. I mean, he's got decent XG so far this season, and he's had a lot of tough matchups if you include how poorly Arsenal were against Brentford. But after that, they played Chelsea and Man City, and I mean, we can't blame them too much for being destroyed those games. So it's their first real easy matchup besides that Brentford complete fail. And so yeah, we'll see how they do. Hopefully he starts. If he doesn't, though, I hope he doesn't play at all because I have Webster coming off the bench. So I don't feel like this is a absolutely terrible situation. Bruno is still in the team. Bruno could easily become CR7 soon. I wish it was a little bit easier. If I only had 0.4 more, I could just do Bruno down to a 4.5 and then Parika up to CR7. But that will probably take me 2 game weeks at this point because I'll need to make another transfer to get some more money. And then I could bring CR7 in for Villa, Everton, Leicester, which wouldn't be terrible unless I made an extra transfer. But I don't really want to rush to bring CR7 in against West Ham. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but West Ham on the road isn't an absolutely amazing fixture. I think Villa is a pretty great fixture at the moment. Villa had 3 amazing fixtures to start the season. They still didn't defend awesome. And that's one reason I brought Lukaku in. I sold Son and I sold Ings. Ings almost has to go. Not really the quantity of chances that you want to see from any attacker. He's not really getting much at all. It's still Danny Ings, and if he does get those, he's going to be a great option. And he still was getting points, even though he was barely touching the ball. But a lot of that's because they had amazing fixtures. I expect Villa to be much worse. I'm bringing in Lukaku and captaining him. Jota, I mean, he's simply amazing value, at least for the short term. We don't really know how long Firmino is out for, but Jota playing as a number 9 for Liverpool against Leeds, I should have had this man instead of Mane to begin with, probably to start the season. But with that said, Leeds, Crystal Palace, Brentford, if he can start all those 3 games at only 7.6 million out of position, listed as a midfielder, I think these transfers were pretty easy to make. It would have been much different if I had an extra million and then I could have made the decision between Ronaldo and Lukaku, but because I didn't, I feel like Lukaku is the obvious choice here. Benrahma's still in the team. I don't really know how I feel about it yet. We'll just have to see. I don't think he's an amazing option anymore. Southampton away isn't going to be easy, I don't think. And Man United at home isn't going to be easy. But after that, Leeds away could be something where if I still have him, all of a sudden I'm playing him for the next 2 or 3. I will change the vice captaincy to Salah. Leeds it's too much of a good matchup. And we will move on from there. I could play Webster over Smith Rowe, but again, I think Arsenal have decent upside in this game. Of course, we know how massive their downside is in every game, especially recently. But after Brighton's performance against Everton, I'm not super confident in them anyway. And Smith Rowe looked pretty good as a player, so I think keeping him in isn't the worst option. If Arsenal are able to do anything, at all, Smith Rowe's got a good chance of being involved in it as long as he plays in a reasonably attacking role, which is questionable. But if they play a 4-2-3-1 and put Smith Rowe at cam and he starts against Norwich, that's all I'm asking for. I would say, you know what, I would take that matchup every time, really. Like, I know Arsenal aren't good at all, but it's still Norwich and it's at home. So, you know, even Brighton players or Burnley players, that could be a good matchup for their attackers. So I'm pretty happy to have him. I just hope he starts. The thing about my team this week is I'm like, realistically, this is kind of close to what a free hit team could look like. Besides, you know, Bruno would be CR7 and there would be some differences. But as far as the fixtures go, I'm liking a lot of them. So, I don't think West Ham versus Southampton is necessarily top of the list, but it could be for some people. But all my players have good fixtures. Yes, I had to take a -4, but I'm pretty confident in it. I guess we'll end up talking about Lukaku captaincy a lot, and that will be important. So let's go ahead and pull up some fantasy football fix statistics here. Link in the description below for fantasy football fix, of course. And let's look at Lukaku. Let's look at Mr. Romelu Lukaku. How's it going, guys? Hey, Omar, Kobe, William, Thomas. How's it going, Blues? I do think Ronaldo Ronaldo should start, but Ale doing the whole he's not going to start thing. If we, based on what Ale said, just the words he said, and we only focus on those things, I don't think Ronaldo would start. But just the fact that he definitely should start, I mean, the only reason for him not to start would be Ale being like, look, I'm a real traditional type manager. I just think he should get his applause for coming, and it would be an emotional thing, not like an actual, there'd not be an actual reason for that. So, but who knows? I mean, Man United shouldn't need to start him, so there's that. But at the same time, who else are they going to play at striker? Yeah, no Ronaldo at the moment. He's certainly, I hate to say he's a wait and see. It sounds ridiculous because I'm sure he's going to come in and do great because he always does great everywhere. But Lukaku is sort of the same way. I mean, if we compare their statistics, Lukaku for Belgium in the World Cup, he had 5 goals in 4 games and an assist. Cristiano Ronaldo had 5 goals in 4 games. Comparing their stats at Serie A is interesting as well. So Serie A last season, we'll just look at last season, I suppose. Lukaku had 24 goals, 11 assists. That's 35 returns in 36 games. Ronaldo had 29 goals and 3 assists in 34 games, I want to say. So it's more goals for Ronaldo, but it's 33 returns in 34 games, whereas Lukaku's at 35 returns in 36 games. So very comparable. The biggest difference last season is that Ronaldo was actually on the worst team that scored less goals, and they still did, pretty much the same. So of course it is slightly better for for Ronaldo, but the point is Lukaku is right there with him recently, and it's sort of a very similar situation, both going back to clubs that they've played for before, both going back to the EPL and being expensive strikers. But of course, Lukaku, with the transfer I wanted to make, which was Son to Jota, I could only afford Lukaku, so it made the decision quite easy. But I think that extra million is also, for other people, that could be relevant as well. So we'll just have to see. I don't know if there's a big reason to pick one or the other. But, so the downside of Lukaku is these fixtures here against Tottenham and Man City. I don't think Tottenham's necessarily a terrible fixture. I don't mind it. The Man City one obviously isn't great either, but with how good Chelsea have been, I'm willing to take that chance. And Lukaku fits into a plan of me just not wildcarding until way later, because I could just literally keep him whenever. But realistically, game week 7 through 12 is really good, and I could bring in more Chelsea players for that. Bruno out is going to be a big move for me because that could really depend, that could really decide the structure I go for. Let's say I go Bruno to Mount, and that gives me 4.5 million. That would block, the CR7 and Lukaku double up and a lot of other things that could be interesting. But that could be a good thing. One thing I've thought about doing is bringing in Trent. I figure that's probably a good idea at some point. I really thought about transferring him in this week. For For Tsimikas, it would have just been instead of Lukaku, instead of Ings to Lukaku, I could have done Trent to Tsimikas. But I wanted to captain Lukaku against Villa at home. I think it's a great fixture. Don't get me wrong. I think Salah and of course Ronaldo are the other best captaincy options this week. But Salah against Leeds, like we've seen Leeds completely collapse against the big teams so far and concede a lot of goals. And I mean a lot of goals, and that's very likely to happen again. I think Salah is a great option. I mean Jota as well is a captaincy option for sure. So I don't think you can go wrong with Salah, Jota, Lukaku, Ronaldo. Antonio is still going to be in that list. A lot of people not thinking about Antonio, and I get it. Southampton at home, I expect that to be a reasonably tough matchup throughout this first part of the season. We saw them only concede 1 goal to Man United and it looked like they played pretty well. And that's the only sample size we have. And we know Man United could just have bad games where they start off poorly. By the way, that was last week, and I haven't done any content for a while. Or no, I think I just forgot to mention that. That was game week 2. But I predicted that Southampton would score first in that game, and I just wanted to brag about that because it did come true. And but yeah, so Southampton just isn't the best fixture, but anytime Antonio, especially at home or just in these amazing fixtures, like his numbers are so good, you can never write him off as a captaincy option at the moment. For Leeds and Brentford, I think he'll certainly be in that category, but as long as his numbers stay as they are, it's going to be hard to ignore him for a while. Let's compare Antonio to Lukaku, and hopefully some of that will be illustrated here with just how amazing Antonio has been. So let's go to but yeah, Lukaku against Liverpool. I mean, Chelsea playing with 10 men. Lukaku still could have scored that second half. He had at least one chance. I was reasonably impressed with it. That's Liverpool at Anfield with 10 men. I think that fares pretty well for him in future pretty big matchups. So shots so far, of course, Lukaku played that one half of football where it's like you had no expectations for him because they're 10 men down at Anfield, or they're 1 man down at Anfield. If they were 10 men down, I think things would be a lot different in the world right now. But they were only 1 man down. And before that, Lukaku didn't play game week 1 in their actual good fixture. Never mind. He played game week 2 in the best fixture possible against Arsenal. So whenever you play a relegation team like that, of course, it's going to inflate your numbers. But Lukaku has 10 shots in those 2 games. If he continues to put up the numbers he did against Arsenal whenever they play weaker teams than them, it's going to be ugly for little teams. I don't even remember how many shots he had in that game, but I was incredibly impressed with that. But also 5 attempted assists in 2 games, 10 shots. I just think it looks too good. But of course, Antonio has just been amazing. 4 goals, 3 expected goals so far in 3 games, over 3 actually. 16 shots. I mean, 16 shots in 3 games for an 8 million striker is just ridiculous. 13 shots in the box, 3 assists. He's outperforming both expected goals and expected assists, but that could happen, of course. Lukaku does have a big chance created and 5 attempted assists. I think both of these guys are looking very good. So per 90 minutes, Lukaku has 5 shots. He must have had like 7 shots against Arsenal. I think it might have been 8 or 9. I don't even remember, but we're talking a lot. But yeah, I compare him to Antonio because Antonio is just absolutely ridiculous so far. So let's go back to their heat map, and I'll put that up on the screen. Touch heat map. I think Lukaku's, you're going to see, I mean, it doesn't really show up too much. Let's go to touches. Lukaku's is going to be pretty impressive, especially against teams when they're really able to dominate the game. I think this area here right in the box for Lukaku, we're going to see a lot more there. Antonio's is pretty evenly spread out, but I would look for these touches in the box. I mean, Lukaku doesn't need to score anyway, but I would expect it to look a little bit better after this week. I think Villa at home is an amazing fixture for him. So Lukaku and Antonio, I'm very happy with my strikers at the moment. Reasonably similar players, I suppose, as well. Good morning, Soitra. William, so wild carding for me, I really don't know. Like I said, I got Lukaku in, and even, I mean, Lukaku and Jota, really, I'm like, let me try to make back my -4 right away this week, and maybe more. But Jota could last me until Firmino's back, which we just don't know. So that's not a very long-term plan. But Lukaku is sort of the opposite, where I could leave him in forever. But of course, a premium, you can play him every week anyway, so it's not a big deal. It's not like he's not a short-term option. But with so many good premiums at the moment, it's hard to... Donna's eating a sticker off a bag. She ran away, so that's good. If you know Donna, you're probably not surprised. As far as wildcard timing goes, I do not have a specific time. The issues are Shaw needs to start getting some points. Bruno's got to go. Smith Rowe's probably got to go at some point, even though he has amazing fixtures. So if he does something this week, things could change. Soufal and Reguilon's fixtures are kind of an issue. Who am I going to play instead? Webster, and obviously I can't play Tsimikas or Parika. Game week 5, which is next game week, my defensive fixtures just don't look good at all. So I'll have to make a defensive transfer. I could play, Soufal plays Manchester United. Reguilon plays Chelsea. Shaw, of course, plays West Ham. Brighton plays Leicester. So it's not looking good for my defenders at all. I think what I'll have to do is, just play my biggest players, but I will have to look to make a transfer. Reguilon, I think I'm going to end up keeping him because of the system that they have in place where he's getting forward a lot. I don't mind keeping him at all. Shaw at 5.5, it makes it easier to sell given he has terrible fixtures, and I think a lot of people are going to look into that soon. But I still think he's still got 5th in creativity so far, and he's going to get some more assists. Now they just added even more quality to their team as well. But at 5.5, it's at that range where I'm like, I could simply get someone with a better fixture for Game Week 5 and potentially get some more points. But we'll see how Man United defend today. I just think they need to keep one clean sheet first, and I think it's going to come. Besides against Wolves. Wolves are yet to score a goal. That clean sheet doesn't count. It was reasonably impressive, though. But Shaw needs to show a little more big game potential. Potential to get huge hauls. But I think I can hold off on wild carding is the point. That's really my only issue that needs to be addressed is defensive fixtures for next week. Benrahma, Bruno, Smith Rowe aren't ideal either. So I'm at a stage where if things go badly and all these players just keep looking worse and worse, then yes, I'm definitely in wildcard territory. But, if Benrahma looks a little bit better today, even though he's got a tough fixture, Smith Rowe's probably not going to look great. Bruno, we have no clue. I'm going to look to sell him anyway because I don't think he's worth $12 million. But I'm getting close to the wildcard stage is the point. If things go wrong, this team could look very badly, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, no, I'm definitely going to wild card. But we're not quite there yet, I don't think. Will Veltman start? I don't know. I haven't kept up with it because I ignore the Brighton news. I'm sorry. Because I know I have Webster and I'm good. I've just completely forgot to look up Veltman's. Kobe got in Gray and Antonio and got rid of Willock and Ings. You got in Antonio and you got rid of Ings. You can't make a better move than that. As far as chances go, Antonio is the absolute king right now. And Omar's not getting CR7 in because of the starting uncertainty. And yeah, there is no reason to rush him in when we have other options, I suppose. How are we feeling about that? Are we taking that seriously, that CR7 won't start. I mean, if you said it, there's certainly a possibility of it. For 12.5 million, it would be terrible for Ronaldo owners, which would probably be Ronaldo captainers. It would just be so bad. I am looking to avoid that. But if you have to tear your team apart to get Ronaldo in, I would say don't do it. That would be my general advice, because there's options elsewhere that less tearing apart could get you, and I think that's probably the way to go. And that's a sort of a good general rule, I think, in FPL. Like, don't get too focused on one player, because it depends, right? Because sometimes one player is just absolutely dominating everybody, but there's a lot of uncertainty about Ronaldo right now. He hasn't even played a game yet for United. I'm not willing to tear my team apart to get him in. I'd rather take the chance that someone else gets some points, because that can certainly happen. Thomas transferred out Kane for Ronaldo. Oh, in this situation, like I said, if I had 12.5 to play with and I had the decision between CR7 and Lukaku, I can't say I would do anything differently. I'm not sure. I love Lukaku this week. That's the thing. They both have similar fixtures next week. I honestly think that more people should be considering Lukaku, but it's not something I feel so strongly about that I'm willing to say, oh, Team Lukaku over Team CR7 and start that. Like, I would do it as a joke on Twitter, but realistically, I'm surprised that more people... you know what? That's not true. I've seen a lot of people go for Lukaku, and I think it's because he's cheaper, and I'm a fan of that. Yeah. Trent has to come in, and that's the thing. Like, these next three fixtures, I wish I had Trent now. Leeds away, they're going to have Rafinha. I am okay not having Trent. But Crystal Palace and Brentford, and then Watford game week 8. I do want a Liverpool defender, at least a third Liverpool player that's not Tsimikas. So Bruno to a cheaper mid and Tsimikas to Trent fits sort of my plan about what I was saying about getting a better defender for next week. But it's another -4, so I just have to decide how much Trent's worth it. Of course, Trent could pay me back in 1 week with that. Alan says he brought in Ronaldo and Jota for Ings and Bruno. Okay. Selling Bruno this week is... it's probably a good idea to go ahead and do it, but it's still, a good attacker against Newcastle at home. It's rough. He's not worth 12 million. You got to sell him at some point if you want the value, but there's no great week to sell a big player like Bruno, especially coming up soon. So we'll see how he does with Ronaldo. I'm optimistic about his chances. Without penalties, it's a little bit different, but I don't know. People forget Bruno can really take over a game sometimes and be creating literally everything United do, and I don't think that'll change too much with Ronaldo involved. The bigger thing is just like there are other pieces around them that they have, like when Pogba's playing and doing well, but it doesn't happen every game. Bruno is still a great option. I don't know how I feel about selling Bruno this week. I clearly didn't do it. I think for us people that haven't wildcarded yet, or our teams are looking a little bit rough, like mine is with a couple of players like Smith Rowe and Son, selling Bruno just wasn't even near priority. So it just depends on how good your team is looking. Calvert-Lewin should play, Kobe. That's my... Or he might play. We don't know for sure. There's a... If you search DCL FPL on Twitter, you can find reliable sources about that. Is Saiss nailed? I think he should be. I don't think he's nailed. I'm not confident enough to say he's nailed. We saw similar things last season with him getting benched. With a new manager, we can't say for sure. I do like some of those Wolves defenders, though. I don't think you necessarily have to go Saiss. I think there's some other decent options there. They have great fixtures. I thought about bringing Jimenez in, and the fixtures are just too good, but Wolves clearly can't finish. Traore, well, we know the deal there. I still think he's got that in him if he just gets some confidence and scores one. Then all of a sudden he's going to be a great option if you can ever find some confidence. Jimenez coming off the head injury, still just, I don't have enough confidence in him, especially when I can get someone like Lukaku. But man, I just don't trust Wolves to attack. They just haven't impressed me enough. They've gotten decent expected goals though, but I think they're great options. I mean, if I was wildcarding, I would probably have Jimenez, and I would probably not go Traore. I would probably have a Wolves defender as well. I don't think this week's a bad week to wildcard because you can go Chelsea, you can go Wolves, and those players will last you a long time because of the fixtures they have. Obviously, bring in Jota, Antonio, all of the players that are sort of in form and good value at the moment. So I think wildcard works for this week. One reason is because of these Wolves defenders. So pick whoever you think's most nailed. I'm not sure it's Saiz, though. I think you could maybe even get someone cheaper. Good luck, Afil. Bench Dyer or Semedo? Semedo. This is a good decision to have to make. You're clearly in a pretty good position here. Dyer or Semedo? Crystal Palace at home. What did they do last time at home? They didn't score against Brentford. Watford are at home. Man, that's Semedo doesn't even really have that much more attacking threat, and that's throwing me off here. Really, I don't know. If I had to choose one, I think I would go with Dyer. I don't know why. I just imagine Wolves conceding to Watford at home, but I think both of them have a decent chance to concede, to be honest. Yeah, I agree. You know what, Thomas? I gotta stop saying I agree so much, but I do agree because Lukaku. Look, I don't know. I think after this week, everybody's gonna be in a situation where they're like, okay, I want Lukaku, but now he plays Tottenham and Man City, and I don't know how to transfer him in. I really think that Chelsea could win the EPL this season. I think their attack is being underrated a little bit because so many people think of Chelsea, and after last season, they're like, oh, good defense. But look, they scored 3 against Crystal Palace. They scored 2 against Arsenal, where they could have, and realistically, in most situations, they probably would have scored so many more against Arsenal. They get 1 in the first half against Liverpool, and then they go in with 10 men to the second half on the road. You know, if they would have got 2 there and won that game, I think people would have looked much differently at Lukaku, especially if he would have got a return. But I don't think you can count that against him too much, and I think people are naturally just like casually counting it against him. I don't know. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people with how good he is. I rate Lukaku too, so that's a huge difference between me and some other people. I think Lukaku is very good. So I'm very happy with him captaincy. Only 2 more minutes to the deadline, and I'm glad I was able to deadline stream today. I thought I wasn't going to be able to for a little bit, but it all worked out. Unfortunately, these FPL deadlines, the week I'm not doing anything on the weekend is the week where it was international break week. So that's how it goes, of course. And this week I have another pickleball tournament. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. Will Odegaard start? I'm going to say this is 50-50. You probably don't want him in your team. It's too close to call. Sarr or Traore? I'm going to say Sarr. I just trust, I would just trust Sarr. The main reason is exactly what Soitra said there. Sarr is a good player, I think, and Traore can't finish. Nuclear Adams, I will check that out. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are jumping on Chelsea to win, and I think it makes sense. With Luke, I just simply think Lukaku is the missing piece for Chelsea. Like, it sounds cliche, but think about last season. Yes, they had some creativity issues as far as creating chances, but the main thing was they were lacking a striker. Timo Werner, I mean, not to hate on the guy, but realistically, like, he was an issue last season for them. The fact that he didn't come in and do what was expected of him was a big deal given how well they defended. Things could have been a lot different. And I think when you have a striker like Lukaku that's proven, and as the deadline strikes here today, and Lukaku captaincy is locked in for me, which I'm excited about, he's just going to be such a difference maker. And as long as they can keep creating chances, but, with Reece James, obviously he's suspended now, and Alonso/Chilwell getting forward and being in good form, that gives teams something to worry about, and that takes a little bit of pressure off the players that we know can create. Maybe we haven't seen the best of them yet this season, like Mount, Ziyech, who's overrated, but it's a story for another day. But Mount and Lukaku could be a nice connection. Obviously, Pulisic, like, they have these attackers in place. One of them is going to be able to have a good game. If it's not the fullbacks, they simply got a good team. They've got arguably a better midfield than Liverpool. Man City are still... I don't know if I would pick Chelsea over Man City, though, if we're talking about winning the title, to be honest. I don't know if I can go against Man City. But one game I'm excited for is Leicester versus Man City. And that's because Leicester, the past couple of times, have performed very well against Man City. You'll notice I didn't mention what players I was thinking of bringing in. I didn't mention Grealish. And that's one reason why. I'm not going to bring in a Man City player before they play Leicester. I know it sounds ridiculous to say, oh, this fixture is too tough for Man City, but Leicester, man, they know how to cause problems for Man City. And that's all I've seen recently. So, not a huge fan of captaincy for Man City players this week. But another reason to not tear a team apart to get anybody, but especially, I mean, people are doing it with Ronaldo this week, so I'll mention him. Not that he's a bad option, but there's also like options like Jesus, which you can't really rely on long term. I get it, but these guys can certainly get you a lot of points over a couple of game weeks. If you think he's going to start one week, and maybe get a run of starts, Jesus at only 8.5 could be absolutely amazing. He's playing more of a winger role, so it's a weird pick. I think Grealish would be a better pick. And that's something I'll have to consider. I could do Bruno to Grealish and then do Tsimikas to Trent. And if Grealish is going to perform at a premium level at 8 million, which so far, I mean, he's reasonably close to that, I would suppose. Let's look at Grealish's creativity and threat ranks. I mean, they're third and sixth. He's getting I basically look at these as expected assists and expected goals. That's basically what it is. They don't say exactly, but it's certainly a correlation between those two statistics. I mean, they played Tottenham. That was kind of a rough game, but other than that, he's returned in both, and they got 2 5-0s. One was against, Norwich and Arsenal are super easy fixtures, but still, the numbers are there for him, and we know he's a good player, and it looks like he's going to be nailed on for 8 million in the midfield. I'm strongly considering getting Grealish. Not the best time, because I'll get him in for Southampton, and then he has to play Chelsea and Liverpool after that. So maybe I'll have to hold off on him, but I'm very interested in Jack Grealish, and I think that's going to be over the course of the season. I think I think he's being a little bit underlooked, to be honest. Everybody knows he's a great option, but that extra money is going to be huge in comparison to like some of the premium mids. I think I do have to get Bruno out of my team and either go for Trent and someone like Grealish, or just go straight CR7. I do like the idea of Lukaku and CR7. That would be very nice. These teams are very creative at the moment. Big decisions to make. Big decisions. It's gonna be a really good day. Because of the games we have, again, Leicester and Man City. If Leicester can give them a fight, that's awesome. Obviously, it's really all about CR7 coming back and how they do. But we also get to see Antonio play, which has been great this season. We get to see Wolves. I don't even want to say it, but we get to see Wolves hopefully score their first goal of the season today. Come on. It's got to happen at some point over the next 2 game weeks. If they don't score this week, it's going to be all in their heads, though. Against Watford, you have to score. And, of course, we get to see well, I get to see Lukaku, the captain, against Aston Villa. That's going to be a game I'm hoping for a lot, I'm not going to lie. And we also get to see relegation battle games. Who's going to get relegated, Arsenal or Norwich? Well, we'll find out today. Brentford and Brighton, also a relegation battle type of game. Not as bad as Arsenal or Norwich, but still, relegation for sure. Liverpool Leeds, only one game Sunday, but of course it's going to be good as well. And those teams, I mean, all these games are good, to be honest. Like as far as competitive goes, there's not too many lopsided. The ones that are United versus Newcastle and Chelsea versus Villa, and Liverpool Leeds, I suppose. But for FPL, we love watching the lopsided games, of course. But besides that, I'm expecting some great games, especially Arsenal and Norwich. If you want to watch some high-quality football where everybody scores every shot they take and there's no loose passes and a team really just looks like a unit and they know what they're doing. Very strong-minded teams, by the way. Arsenal, there's nobody tougher than them. So that'll be a great battle. And we'll see how it goes. Deadline has passed. Yes. Yes, sir. I will check out Mr. See how these teams are looking. Now, this week, teams could have went a lot of different directions because a lot of people did a lot of things. A lot of wild cards out there. A lot of Ronaldos out there. A couple more. Wait. I'm sorry. I just was very caught off guard by this question. Someone asked, if you are deciding between Bruno or Salah captain, who are you leaning towards? That's just the easiest question I've ever had to view in my life. Not really, but I think it would be Salah all day for me. Not even close. Anyway, moving on. We have a wild card here. So 9 changes. Okay, so he said he sets the team up for the future. I like it. Bench boost opportunities as well. Yes, Livermento in the team, exactly as he should be. Semedo for the nailed-on Wolves defender for all these amazing fixtures they're about to have. Christensen, hopefully he keeps being nailed on for you because that's going to be great value if he is. But yeah, this is if you're going to wild card, I think this week. Well, I mean now you can't, but a Chelsea and a Wolves defender or player in general, but especially a defender, like because you can just they're not too expensive, but you can play them every week for the next I don't even know how long if you really wanted to. I think you got to have them. Dyer, Tottenham have just been defending well, and he's pretty cheap. And of course, Trent, you can't go too wrong there. We have one premium mid with Salah. We have Torres in there as well. I would have probably put Torres or Grealish in the team. I actually like this team. I like that you picked Pookie because the fixtures are going to be great. And I think who they play. So, I mean, Arsenal this week, I'm not going to say anything, but you could almost be playing them. Then Watford away. Everton isn't terrible. Burnley, Brighton. And so far, so any sort of good numbers we've seen from Pookie so far have been in absolutely terrible fixtures. So I would imagine they double or just get much better. I don't mind this at all, and that also allows you. I imagine Pookie and Gray, you'll be able to rotate them somewhat. I'm not exactly sure how it works out, but Gray, he may be one of those players that ends up dropping to the bench. The one thing that, I get it because you're trying to get money, and you can't spend money everywhere. But the Benrahma pick is one that I would have probably tried to avoid. The thing is, I don't have a recommendation as to who to go for instead. The only thing you could have done is like Benrahma to a 4-5 and then upgraded like a defender somewhere, right? It would hurt your bench boost possibilities. So I definitely get it. Livermento helps out so much, though. Like, the fact that he's probably going to keep starting at that price. Man, this makes me want a wild card, to be honest. It really does. Or, obviously, I can't now, but who knows? Like, very soon, we really don't know. Like, Jota, I imagine for 3 weeks he's good, but Gray, Torres, Christensen, Benrahma. I mean, Pukki and Semedo, I would say they're going to be good because of the fixtures, but yeah, Torres, Benrahma, Christensen, Gray. Like after a couple weeks, we could be like, oh, these guys aren't even options. Torres could start being rotated. Benrahma, I still think he's a good option. I'm just not super confident. Like without great fixtures, I don't know. I think there may be places elsewhere you could go with that. Gray, of course, looks great, but I'm just saying with cheap midfielders, things can look much different very soon. But at the moment, this team just looks awesome. So we'll see. Hopefully the wild card lasts for you. At the moment, I really like it. I think. So is there a way to get Trent, Ronaldo, Lukaku, and Salah that makes any sort of sense at all? I mean, I know this is a bench boost team, so you could have done Pukki to a 4.5. Not Pukki. I mean, you'd have to upgrade Pukki to all the way to Antonio, so you need to get the money from elsewhere. I mean, Torres to a 4.5 gets you like 3 million. It would be a rough one. Yeah, it would be pretty rough. You get an extra decent amount from the goalkeeper, and then you still need another like 3 million after that, which really is that sort of range where you just downgrade Trent and go Pukki to Lukaku. Oh no, you wouldn't need 3 million. You'd only need like 2 million, if I'm doing my math correctly. So Torres to a 4.5, Raya to a 4.0, and you'd probably have to do one other thing, and it's not looking great at that point. It may be multiple little small changes like Christensen to a 4.5, Semedo to someone cheaper. It can be done though. The idea there for Ronaldo, Lukaku, Trent, and Salah, I'm sure some people did it on wildcard. I don't think that's the best long-term plan to have. I'm glad you didn't go for it because I like how this team is set up currently with Pukki in there to come in and mix things up with his amazing fixture. So the wild cards are being represented well, I think. I didn't think too much about it this week because I just don't have the level of certainty for a lot of the transfers. With that said, Lukaku will make us happy. You're right. Let's hope he does. Let's hope he does, my man. Yeah, 3 premiums with Trent is a rough one, but if all the premiums perform well and there's these breakout cheaper guys, these things can really work. And the thing about it is if you get on it and then like all your premiums do well and then everybody transfers them in, the prices go up. Like then it gets to the point where nobody's even really going to attempt to build the team you have, and it can just lead to huge rank gains. I feel like I've had that happen in the past. I'm not a huge fan though because typically there's cheaper options elsewhere where it's just not worth it. It's not worth putting all your money in premiums, and then you have these little stragglers left around, and the little straggler players, the little very, very cheap guys, you have to end up transferring them in and out so much because they don't last very long. It always depends on the season, but that's how it goes a lot of times. Anyway, thank you guys for watching today. I finally made some transfers that I feel reasonably confident in, even though it's a -4. I think Jota's great value and Lukaku just a great option for a premium. I will definitely see you guys next time.